This podcast is sponsored by nobody.
Yo, dudes, this is Tony Hudson, Denise in Just One of the Guys, and Sarah in Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, and you're listening to Tommy Throwback Kovac on Splat from the Past. I'd rather go to the phone book and pick a name at random.
Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today is Halloween, and I'm going to be talking to a bucket list guest I've been wanting to talk to since day one, and I'm talking about Susan Ursitti Sheinberg. Yes, Boof from Teen Wolf. Boof. I've been wanting her on since day one, and I'm finally going to have her today, and I am so friggin' excited about it. And she's done so many other great movies besides Teen Wolf. She was in Zapped. She was in Doin Time on Planet Earth. She was in the Runnin Kind with another guest of mine, Pleasant Gaiman. She was on Fairy Tale Theater, Thumbelina, which I didn't realize until just recently. And that's one of my favorite episodes, too. She's one of the Flower Court girls. She guest starred on 21 Jump Street, Newhart, TV 101, lots of great stuff. And then she married John Sheinberg, the son of Sid Sheinberg, who ran Universal. You know, one of the guys that greenlit Back to the Future. You know, there's the Michael J. Fox connection again. And she's now like involved in different causes, and she went back to school and she got herself a degree, and it's going to be a great conversation today. I just cannot wait, and I hope all of you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you're all celebrating Halloween responsibly today. It can be a dangerous holiday when it's amateur night, like so many holidays. But Halloween October is going out with a bang. It's been a fantastic month, and it went by way too fast. Tomorrow I kick off Turkey November. So yeah, here is my interview with Susan Ursitti Sheinberg. Hey, Susan, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Happy Halloween.
Yes. Oh my God, I can't tell you what a great honor this is. I've been a fan for so long. Thank you so much for finally coming on today. This is great.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me.
So, going back in time, did you gravitate toward acting early on in your childhood?
Did I gravitate? Yes, I did. I always had a love for film, for television, Broadway. And so I wanted to go to Juilliard when I was in high school. I wanted to go to NYU, but my mom and dad had a different idea. They basically drove me to South Bend, Indiana, and to St. Mary's in Notre Dame, and I got to choose, and I decided to go to St. Mary's, and I did a lot of theater there,
Mm-hmm.
and I worked at the television station, and I worked at the radio station, and I did commercials while I was in college. So I would fly back and forth from South Bend, Indiana, into Chicago, and I shot Wishbone Dressing, McDonald's, Sears, I just probably hundreds of commercials, and it was kind of my entree into the business. So that's kind of, I always had a love for it.
Yeah, that's so cool. Did you grow up Italian Catholic?
I grew up Italian Catholic, and yes, and in fact, I'm trying to figure out how to get my Italian passport.
Nice. Yeah, I'm Italian on my mom's side of the family, and we were raised Catholic. You know, I was brought up with the Italian cliches, talking with your hands, raising your voice, sensitivity, the stinky smells, you know, the cliches.
Oh yeah, all the above, right? I got that one. Yes, that's funny. That's pretty fun.
When you were at St. Mary's, did you do any theater there that you're proud of?
Um, yeah, some of it, but mostly It was experimental theater that they did there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was fun, and I had great teachers, and the communications program was great there.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was more like just kind of hanging out and getting a great education,
Yeah.
and then coming out of there. And when I got out of there, I made a decision. I was either going to go to law school or I was going to work in the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm.
And so it turns out that they were shooting Ordinary People in Lake Forest, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to start shooting in the fall. So I decided to send Robert Redford a letter at the hotel in Waukegan. I think it was the Holiday Inn where they were staying. And it was the week before they were going to start shooting. And I just said what a great production assistant I would be because I knew the area and I would be an asset to their production team. And lo and behold, I got a phone call the day before they were going to start shooting saying that I should come down and meet with them. So I went down and spoke with all of the production people and all the producers and ended up being a PA on Ordinary People for almost 6 months, which was an
Wow.
incredible, absolutely incredible experience. And I learned a lot from that. And I couldn't have asked for a better first film set to be on.
Yeah.
Jumping from commercials into film. And it turns out my parents then moved to Los Angeles. So I decided to move with them. And the rest kind of was uphill after that. I mean, I just kept getting jobs. And I went from the production, though, from being working with Ordinary People, then moving to Los Angeles, saying I was going to go into production. But what happened is I kept meeting people who were asking me to act.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up doing a USC film, and
Mm-hmm.
the USC film led to everyone seeing, I guess myself, it was called Last Chance Dance,
Yep.
and that little film won a ton of awards. And that film is what got me the part in Teen Wolf.
Yeah, I know Jim Walker who was in that, and I know Phil Giwanu is the one who directed it. Yeah, I saw it on YouTube the other night. I was like, wow, this is a little gem of a thesis film.
Oh yeah, how did you? It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Phil Giwanu has a channel.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yes, so Phil
Yeah.
Giuliano, I walked into this open call. Somebody called me. I walked into a dermatologist office. I mean, life happens. And somebody said to me, "What are you doing?" And I said, I mean, they didn't know me really. And I said, "I'm acting and I'm also doing production work." And a day later, I got a phone call from this girl in the dermatology office. And she said to me, "Do you want to go interview for a film at USC?" And I thought, nothing lost, nothing gained. I might as well go down there. So I went down, and there probably were about 500 girls waiting to be interviewed for this part. And I walked in, and I didn't know any better, read the part. And Phyllis looked at me and said, "Do you want to play it?" I said, "Sure." And this little film ended up getting me into more doors and picking up agents and managers, and it was kind of my entree into the business here in Los Angeles.
Well, you were adorable in that film, so of course it was going to open doors for you.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but going back to ordinary people for a moment, I mean, God, that's one of those things that I find out on the podcast that I couldn't find on IMDb. So when you were PA on that film, God, it just must have been extraordinary to be surrounded by Robert Redford and Mary Tyler Moore and Donald Sutherland and Timothy Hutton and all that.
Oh, it was amazing. And to watch Robert Redford direct
Mm-hmm.
and to work with writers and work with the writer that wrote that was just an amazing experience because it really made me sit back and think, okay, I'm watching such incredible actors with so much experience. And you take in all of their knowledge and their wisdom, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so inspiring to somebody who's just, getting their first job. And I didn't know any better. I probably should have said, hey, by the way, how do I get credit?
Mm-hmm.
But instead they paid me cash, and I just worked 24/7 and basically worked around the clock. And they gave me a plaque that Robert Redford signed that said, thank you for all of your hard work. And Donald Sutherland gave us all these beautiful Tiffany mugs and had them engraved with his name on it. And, it was just one of the most amazing, incredible groups of people I could ever have asked to work with.
Yeah.
And it's hard to live up to that. I mean, anything after that is hard to live up to.
Yeah, it'll always boggle my mind as to why Donald Sutherland didn't get an Oscar nomination for that. He didn't get a nomination for anything, but he did get the honorary Oscar before he died, which was good. But God, that movie is great. I've interviewed the director, or not the editor, Jeff Canoe, who became a director, and he even says that's like the best work he ever did. That editing when Timothy Hutton's telling Judd Hirsch, the tragedy of what happened. Those cutaways are just so powerful.
Oh, the cutaways. Jeff Canoe is a really talented editor. He's
Yeah.
incredible. And I completely agree with you. Every little thing about that film, from the music, with the way they chose Paco Bell to open the film, to just the nuances of where they shot and how they shot it, and the camera angles. I still look back at it with such fond memories.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. So, uh, so,
Yeah.
so at what point did you get cast in Zapped?
Oh wow, that was funny. I had just moved out here, and I mean, seriously, I was looking for production jobs. And
Hmm.
I walked into, I think at that point, you could walk on a set, you could walk into an office. Nobody stopped you at a gate. I think I was walking into offices dropping off my resume, and somebody said, oh, do you dance, or would you be a cheerleader? And I looked and I said, sure, no problem. And I didn't know it was a movie with Scott Baio. And the next thing I know, I got cast in Zapped as one of the cheerleaders. And we worked on it for about 6 weeks.
Hmm.
There's not a lot of us in there, but it was fun. It was fun. It was fun. It was different.
Well,
And
seeing you in Corinne in cheerleader outfits was awesome.
Corinne Barr, she's great.
Love her.
I like her a lot.
Love
Love
her.
her. Yes, yeah, she's really fun. And I would run into her on auditions for commercials all the time.
Yeah.
She's a very funny, comedic, beautiful woman. She's great.
Yeah. Very talented. This movie freaked me out as a kid. I remember finding the tape when I was like 4, and I couldn't believe what I saw. People's clothes being taken off, a talking dummy with a priest, Scatman Crothers riding a horse with a huge salami. I was like, this is so bizarre, this movie.
That's pretty weird. Yeah, I agree with you. It's pretty really weird. I guess, yeah, they had some different ideas with it. I don't know. I played a cheerleader and I kept my clothes on. So,
Yeah,
um,
I'm sure, like, at the
yeah.
end, when everyone's clothes at the dance had to be off, I'm sure you were, like, hiding somewhere.
Yeah, I guess I was off someplace else, I guess. um, but yeah, so that was kind of a weird experience, but they were nice people.
That's
Um,
good.
yeah, yeah, no, they were cool people. But I've had some really good experiences with the industry,
Hmm.
and I feel very blessed. I feel like I've had a Cinderella story, that doors opened I never expected.
Yeah.
I ended I ended up to what was it? I ended up on the road for 6 months with the British production of Whose Life Is It Anyway?
Nice.
And that was all by accident. I walked in and somebody said to me, oh, do you want to go on the road with a British production company, and it was Broadway. They were taking it from Broadway and taking it on the road, and I said, why not? Sure. So I walked in, met with Barry Moss,
Mm-hmm.
and I said to him, do you need a production manager? He said, no, but you're right for the young nurse. And so I laughed and I said, well, if you have an audition here in Los Angeles, I'm more than happy to read for you. But I said, otherwise, let me know what's going on. And so it was very funny. I got a phone call, would I come to New York to read for the part? And back then, computers and email did not work. They weren't available. Cell phones didn't exist. So I sent a Western Union telegram to him that said, I'm sorry, I can't make it to New York, but if you're in Los Angeles, don't hesitate to call. So they came to LA and they called, and I got up on the stage and they said, can you do a British dialect? And I said, I'll try it. And 2 days later, I got a phone call saying, would I understudy for the young nurse and help be the assistant stage manager for the play. So we went on the road for 6 months, and we did Chicago, Baltimore, Toronto, and San Francisco. And I worked with all British actors. Nice. And I thought to myself, who could have asked for a better experience than on the stage than with all of these amazing Brian Bedford, Patricia Galloway, Delphi Lawrence. I mean, these are all Shakespearean actors that kind of paved the way for, such great theater.
Yeah. And Richard Dreyfuss had done the movie in the States.
Yes, Richard Dreyfuss did. He did the movie. Yes, he did.
That
yeah.
You did an episode in Newhart. That must have been a huge career highlight for you.
That was one of my first little gigs I got when I moved out here. Somebody called me up, and I guess I was with an agent, and she said, can you go over and meet with the casting director? And I said, sure. And they called up and said, oh, they want you to play this part. And I said, okay. I didn't know any better. It was like the first one or two things that I went on here. And then I got a phone call, would you go meet with the casting director for Cassie and Company? And that was opposite Angie Newhart, or Angie Dickinson.
Yeah, Angie Dickinson.
And Angie Dickinson. Yeah, and I got to play that part too. So, doors opened. I felt very lucky. I've been extremely blessed.
I grew up loving fairy tale theater, and you were in Thumbelina. That was actually one of my favorite episodes when I was a kid. I used to watch that one a lot. I'll tell you.
You watch a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That happened because Michael Lindsay Hogg was the director of Who's Like Is It Anyway? And he called up Showtime Theater, or the Showtime Fairy Tale Theater, and said, would I come in and play that part? I didn't even know about it. And I got to play one of the, God, I don't even know what I got to play, but
you were one of the flower court people.
The flower court people, you're better. You know more than I do, and it wasn't a big deal. But Michael Lindsay Hogg wanted me to be there, so I said, okay, fine, I'll be there. All of that was amazing, and I feel really blessed that Michael J. Fox was an incredible person to work with. I think I have such fond memories of everybody.
Yeah. I mean, Teen Wolf has been a staple of my life since I was 3. I just love that movie. It still holds up. It still makes me laugh like it always has. And stuff. So was that just a standard audition situation?
No, they had seen the USC film.
Right.
And then the casting director called me in. I looked at the script. I said, I could play this part this is me. Okay, I could play this part. And so they brought me in 5 or 6 times and put me on tape. Then they finally put me on tape with Michael. And I ended up getting the part. And I actually brought my friend in who plays Pamela, Lori, because they couldn't find that part. And she ended up getting that role.
Yeah. Let's see. I've talked to Liz Corsi. I've talked to
Oh, Liz Dorsey. Yeah, Liz Dorsey's great.
Matt,
She's great.
yeah, Matt Adler, Mark Arnold, Mark
Oh
Holton,
yeah, Adler.
Charlie,
Yeah,
Charlie,
Jerry's.
yeah,
Huh?
Charlie Zucker, Jim McCrell, and Troy Evans, who played the rival team coach. And this movie means that much to me that I'll talk to so many people from it. Um, yeah, like, did you ever question the origins of the name Boof?
Oh, sure, sure. It's the writers,
Hmm.
um, girlfriends or ex-girlfriends nickname. And yeah, she actually has there's a real person that had that name.
Yeah,
So, um,
because
yeah, that was her name.
in this because in the credits it's Lisa Boof Marconi is the name.
Right. Yeah, she goes by Booth the entire movie.
It
It's kind
styles
of
as
funny.
Rupert Stilinski, which I think is
Right.
hilarious.
Right. Well, the writers are very funny. The writers are really good writers. And the writers have such a funny story with this whole thing. So
Yeah.
I I think that they really used a lot of their past
Hmm.
and their history to bring that into the film. So have you talked to either of the writers at all?
No, I I have a tendency. I have talked to a few writers, but I have a tendency to not do it because writers are very neurotic and they're very bitter. They're always saying stuff like, oh, my words got changed here, my words got changed here, and they kind of negate the fandom of it because they can't enjoy it. You know what I mean?
That's funny. That's true. But these were good. These were really good guys, and
Yeah.
they used a lot of their own, like, own part of their life, and they kind of inserted it into this movie. And I think that's where the beauty of it comes. There was so much truth from what they grew up with, and they could really see it, and they brought it to the screen.
Yeah.
And I think the whole idea of the underdog and, Michael playing that underdog and in this movie is such a, um, it's such an important subject these days of
Yeah.
letting somebody be who they are. And, I think that his character has been such a fun role for people to hang on to.
Yeah, it's just a wonderful movie that holds up. My favorite scene in the whole movie is after Boof has played basketball with the dad James Hampton. Scott is walking Boof home on that Back to the Future street, I call it, and
That's funny.
you both confess your feelings for each other. You reminisce the memory of running away from home at 5, and he says he couldn't get rid of you if he tried, and you say you can tell him anything, and he rejects it. It's such a real, honest scene. I love it.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I actually loved working on that scene, and we had a lot of fun with that. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and
Um,
after yeah, and there's a moment that's cut. It's in the TV version where after you both go your separate ways, he gets chased by a couple dogs, and and
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. That's
yeah,
funny.
he gets chased by a couple dogs, and then his neighbor's dog or whoever, like, scares them off, and then he's all, "Thanks, Daisy."
Oh, that's great.
I still have
Uh,
I still have the Kodak tape of when we recorded this off NBC when it first premiered.
oh my gosh, that's a long time ago.
1987, May 4th, 1987. I found the exact
Uh,
date. If you go on YouTube, there's all these old previews and stuff, and like, thank God for YouTube because I wouldn't have known the dates.
yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's great.
The closet makeout scene. How many times did you have to slap him?
Like far too many. Way too many. It was nobody knew where that scene was going to go.
Uh-huh.
That scene was ever changing, and I think we all just had fun with it, and I think that's what happened. we all had fun, and we had a good time making it.
I asked.
It got a little crazy, but when in at the end, I think that the group of people in that room all added to the excitement of what that scene turned out to be.
Yeah.
They really had a fun group of people working on it.
I asked Mark Holton. I said, what was it like doing that Jello bit with that girl with the Jello down her shirt? He said, I'm happily married, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, let's pretend I'm still in my 20s. It was great.
That's funny. That is funny. I remember that scene. That's funny. I mean, just some of these little things, these scenes that they came up with were crazy. But now when I look at TV today and film today, they're nothing. Those are nothing compared to what people are doing today.
No, no. Back then, you could get away with so much, and it was just so much fun. Nobody got hurt. Everybody just had a blast.
Yeah, and today you do any of that stuff, and somebody will take a gun out in one of these film or whatever TV shows or films.
Yeah.
I don't. It's just gone to a whole other extreme. They've taken the joy and the purity out of what was, and it's gotten so violent now. Just in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just I can't get into movies nowadays, especially especially comedies. The comedies are non-existent, and if there are comedies, they're on Netflix and they're all made in Europe.
Yeah, that's true. They're made in Europe. You're right. They're made in Europe. That's absolutely true. Well, I think it's really cool that you're such a movie buff. I'm
Yeah.
sure you've got such a plethora of information here. That's incredible. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I got, God, over 2,000 plus movies in my collection for 35 years. My mom worked for the cable company. We took regular trips to the video store, the movie theaters. Yeah, it's just movies have always been a part of my life.
Oh, then that's really impressive. That's great.
Jay Tarsis, he steals this movie as the coach. Oh my God, was he cracking everybody up on set?
He always cracked everybody up. He's got an incredible sense of humor.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yes.
He's playing a role that Chevy Chase would play, just a guy who's in control, but yet he's a space cadet.
He's a space cadet, right? Exactly. But you know what?
hmm
He just plays it with such honesty, and he just plays it so easily, and the words just roll right off his tongue.
hmm Did you guys do a lot of rehearsal for the dance scene?
Just a little bit. They didn't want it really rehearsed,
hmm
only because they wanted it to feel like it was organic
hmm
and not so perfect. And I think the whole thing, if it looked too perfect, then it's too rehearsed.
Yeah.
And I think the idea is that these are young kids; they're having fun, and it's more fun just to have fun with the dance than it is to come across like we're professional dancers.
hmm Did you guys get to do any improv on this movie?
We had a lot of improv in it. We did because a lot of it, especially when all of a sudden Michael turns into the wolf,
Yeah.
it's like you can't just blurt out lines. It's got to be improv somehow. You're looking at him like you've got to be kidding. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's really odd.
Like an example that I could think of that comes off as improv to me is after you said you'll dance with him as the wolf. He says, "Will you feed me grapes?" You're like, "Don't push your luck." He's like, "Tickle my paws."
Yeah, and those were improv. That was improv.
It's
Believe me.
it's
Uh,
perfect
they
because
made a few of those things up. We're like, don't push it here.
yeah,
Come on, you couldn't take this stuff seriously.
yeah,
Uh, it's tongue in cheek here.
very tongue in cheek. Yeah, that same year, Real Genius came out, and Michelle Mayrink had the same hairstyle as you. And for years, I thought it was you until the internet.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, who were you talking about?
Michelle Mayrink in Real Genius came out the same year.
Oh, oh, yeah, my hairstyle, people like, I would get tons of mail about
hmm
who does your hair. how can we get that haircut? It seemed to follow me for years that haircut was kind of a signature of the character. And in fact, still today, I've gotten mail asking me about that haircut.
Mm-hmm.
It was not planned.
It wasn't planned, but it was a cute haircut, and it kind of became your signature, you know.
It kind of became my signature, which now I've kind of gone to the total opposite and grew my hair long and don't have bangs. But I've often thought of going back to it for a day or two. I said, I wonder how fun it would be to go back and have that blunt haircut again with bangs.
how
But,
how
you
was
know,
how was the 21 Jump Street experience?
oh, well, they didn't know I was over 30, and I got to Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and I was playing a high school kid, and I was drunk, and I guess I crashed a car, and so it was it was good. It was great, except for when I got there, they looked at me and said, "Wait, how old are you?" And I said, "It's on my passport." I said, "Obviously, you're looking at my passport." And they laughed and they said, "Okay, we're going to ignore it." Um, so they were cool. I ended up playing, the high school kid, and it was fun, and it was with
Polly Shore's
who
in
else
it.
was there?
Polly Shore's in it.
Polly Shore. I flew up there with Polly Shore.
Uh huh.
I remember flying up there with him. Who else was in there?
Ro-
Holly Pete was in it.
Rob Stone from
Uh,
Mr. Belvedere.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so was Peter, Dom DeLuise's son.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Was Johnny Depp in there? I can't
He
remember.
was.
It
Yeah,
was
he was.
Yeah, it was crazy. The group of people I was working with. I said, "Okay, I'm up here. I'm having fun." So it was great. I loved it, and it was such a goofy show, but I got lucky to be able to work on it, and I felt blessed that I'm able to play younger than I am,
Yeah.
and it's still kind of super. I still people look at me, and I'm still playing. If I want to, I've been asked to do some more stuff lately, and I'm really kind of thinking strongly about it again.
Nice. Nice.
Um, yeah, I'm thinking about it, but I've been producing now and doing documentaries and doing animation. We're bringing back Fern Gully,
Nice.
the original Fern Gully. Do you remember Fern Gully?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're bringing that back, so that should be really interesting. We're bringing back either animated or live action, and but we have a lot of stuff happening, um, and I'm kind of thinking if the right part comes along, I might take it
Right.
because I really have such I have fond feelings of acting and working in front of the camera, and I kind of would like to merge the two and be able to do both if I could.
Now, I've never seen this movie, but I am aware of it. It was called Funland.
Oh, that one I didn't do.
Okay.
I had I had signed that I would do it,
Oh.
and I ended up not doing that one because I ended up doing something else, and it was a conflict of time and work, and I ended up doing. I think I had like 6 commercials in a row to do, and I wasn't able to go to Georgia to shoot that. So I'm not sure how that comes up, but I did do General Hospital for 4 or 5 months. I was
Wow.
on that for a while, and that happened because they saw Teen Wolf, and the
Hmm.
guy from ABC kept saying to me, "I want to put you on a show," and ended up on General Hospital, and it was fun, but it wasn't what I thought it would be
Was
because you're kind of at the mercy of the writing every day, what the writers are going to write.
was Tony Geary on there?
Well, no, I was there
Hmm.
when Christina Melandro was on.
Hmm.
I was there when Jack Wagner was on. And I was brought on as a 19-year-old pregnant, 9 months pregnant. Let's see, I was 19 and pregnant, married to a police officer. and they really didn't know what they were doing with this character. So it was a good experience, but one that I think with soap operas you have to know where these characters are going to. They kind of just either find their way or they fall and fizzle out, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. It was interesting working with all those people and being on the set for 4 or 5 months, and I had fun with it.
Soap operas are a tough job, actors have told me, because you have to memorize 50 pages of dialogue a day, and if you stop, you're out of there.
You're out of there. You're out of there. Yeah. No, soap operas are tough, and you're memorizing a lot of lines, and then they change them on you. They change them really, really quick. Um, so um, that's kind of a hard one. Um,
Yeah, you did a movie called Defense Play, and you worked with another guest of mine, Rutanya Alda. I love her. What was she like to work with?
oh, she was lovely. She was lovely. That was an odd movie, Defense Play, because they were trying to kind of do a war games type film.
Mm-hmm.
And God bless David Oliver. He passed away shortly after that.
Yeah.
But it was interesting, and they were trying to work with drones, which we know drones are the hottest thing in the world. And back then, drones were just a fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
and computers, and it was kind of like before its time in a way.
Yeah.
And but it was good. It was fun. We shot it up in the mountains up in California.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and but it was a good group of people.
Nice. How about Doing Time on Planet Earth?
That one was interesting too. That was who was the director on that one?
Charlie Mathau.
Charlie Mathau. I liked him a lot. He was great. Interesting. It was just fun. We had a good time with that.
Matt was
And
in there.
yep. Had a great time with that. There was another one we worked with another director. What was the other one? I'm trying to think here. I have so much of this just kind of blurs in my eyes. It's just a blur. But Max Tash, Running Kind.
Yes, I'm
Was
actually friends with Pleasant Gaiman.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and that was fun, and it was I played the kind of the girl, the perfect girl that just isn't gonna like rock the boat, isn't gonna get but has to be dressed perfectly, and
Yeah.
it's corny, but Max Tash was a fun director to work with. I
Yeah.
liked him. I thought he was fun, and the movie was a fun movie. It
And
was just a small independent film.
yeah, and you have a funny scene where you're so upset at the main guy, and that the other guy that likes you is driving, and
Oh yeah.
he's like, so what do you want to eat? You're like, geez, why do you have to make everything sound so dirty? And then at the end of the scene, you go wild on him in the car.
No. It's really crazy. That was all Max. Max was like, "Can you do this? Can you do that?"
Yeah,
And I just thought to myself, "Sure, okay, we'll just have fun with it." So yeah, and some really interesting talent came out of that movie.
yeah.
The blonde hair girl, she's done a lot of stuff. I can't remember. Do you remember who I'm talking about?
Vaguely, but I do remember this is one of the first movies that Juliette Lewis did.
Juliet Lewis, yes, and Juliet Lewis was the girl in the family, and she was great. And I remember working with her. Another film I worked on was with this what was it, The Running Kind, and that one was one of the weirdest films I worked on.
The Running Kind, you just
Um,
mentioned that.
Weston,
Are you
what's
talking?
that?
You sure it's The Running Kind? You just mentioned it. You're not talking about The Walking
No,
Dead.
no, not The Running Kind. The Walking Dead. I'm sorry, The
Yeah.
Walking Dead. That one was really weird because I have this small part,
Hmm.
and the small part is being a real bitch to, basically it was a real racist part,
Yeah.
and I didn't like it. They had me wear a red wig, and they put blue contact lenses in my eyes,
Hmm.
and I played the secretary that wouldn't give this couple the time of day.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, it sucked being such a racist person. But because I don't know, it was, but and it was interesting. There were a couple other people I got to know on that film. We shot it down in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, you've brought up a lot of different things in my life, and I completely have forgotten about.
That's what
I've
I.
totally forgotten.
That's what I do. I mean, I'm a true cinephile if ever there was one. Um,
I guess there is. I guess there is. Boy,
so
because I've kind of like forgotten about half this stuff.
I hear that all the time from people. Because they're just living their lives in the present. They don't really reflect much on the past. Occasionally, but it's very rare. Um, so how did you meet your husband, John Scheinberg?
Oh, it's funny. I was at the premiere of Talk Radio
Hmm.
with Eric, was the Eric Bogosian movie,
Oh yeah.
and I was with a girlfriend, and I wanted to go home afterwards. And she said, we ran into a friend, and they said, why don't you come to this Christmas party? And I said, I want to go home. And she said, come on, come on. I said, well, I'm driving. I want to go. She goes, no, 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 we're going to this Christmas party. So we went, and I was kind of not very friendly, and my arms crossed. And I was like, okay, I want to go home. And this guy, long hair, ponytail, suit on, tie, started talking to me. He told me his name was John. He worked for Lee Rich. And I said, that's nice. And he said, well, I'm looking for some place. I'm looking for a new place after January. And I didn't know that he was going through a divorce. I didn't know that. I didn't know anything. That's all I know is in January I called him and said, look, there's a place for a lease in my building. If you're interested, come and see it. So anyway, cut to a few months later, we ended up meeting and bike riding on the bike path in Santa Monica. So we met at this Christmas party, and we were friends for a while, and
Hmm.
then we ended up dating, and a couple years later, we got married, and we have two boys, and he had a daughter from his first marriage,
Oh.
and he has three kids, and my one son, Nicholas, is married with a kid now, and Harrison is getting married next year. So life changes quickly.
It does, yeah. Wow, that is so sweet. God bless you. Um, what's it like having Lorraine Gary as a mother-in-law?
She's amazing.
Hmm.
No, she's incredible. Yeah, she's just a fun. She had so much fun making those movies with Steven,
Yeah.
and she's the heart of those movies, basically. And she's a wonderful person, absolutely wonderful. And it's kind of funny. She dealt with sharks, and I dealt with wolves. It's like one horror and sharks. The one.
my
So we both kind of laugh about it.
my favorite role she ever played was George Burns's money-grubbing daughter in Just You and Me, Kid.
Oh, right, right, right. She had a great time. She loved it, and she's a phenomenal person. She's a true activist.
Hmm.
She's constantly advocating for women and women's rights, and she is always doing whatever is right in a philanthropic way. She's a terrific person.
Yeah, I heard her on Stephen J. Rubin's podcast, and she pulled no punches about Roy Scheider. I can tell you that.
No, no, no punches there. That's for sure. No,
I
But
loved it.
yeah, yeah, everything. She was fun. She's got she's very smart. She could have gone to law school. Or she did go to law school. I think she did she passed the bar.
Hmm.
But she's involved with a lot of different organizations, and she's still going strong.
That's amazing. So I know that you're involved in many causes. What are you currently involved in?
The environment
Hmm.
is one of my passions. Anything having to do with regenerative farming, with soil, with sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually in the process of putting together a podcast myself called Beautiful Living with
Oh.
Elizabeth Lamont in a non-toxic way.
Mm-hmm.
And we're hoping to have that out by the end of the year.
Love it.
So that should be coming out. But I also involved with children. I'm on the board of United Friends of Children, which we deal with foster kids.
Mm-hmm.
I also work with foster youth with housing. I help with a program called Sense of Home sometimes. I also work with, oh my gosh, every time I turn around, I've got something going on. We work with foster youth to help put them through school, which are with Children's Action Network.
Mm-hmm.
I work with UCLA, or I'm trying to help with some programs that they have going on. We're constantly busy working with Alzheimer's, working on different fundraisers with Alzheimer's, because I believe, look, our brain is one of the most important things we have.
Mm-hmm.
And if that gets screwed up and goes away, we're in trouble here.
Yeah.
So I love anything having to do with WAM, which is Women's Alzheimer's Movement. Also, there's a number of things. Cancer. My mom passed away of cancer 32 years ago, so cancer is very dear and near to my heart.
Yeah.
And anything that we can do to eradicate it and help people get over it, I'm there. I will do it. I will show up. I will be there.
That is so beautiful. That's great that you're giving back. So many people don't give back. So many people are just so selfish in this day and age. But there's gems like you who love giving back. So that's just tremendous.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Yeah. No, I just think it's important. I feel so blessed and lucky that, you know what, it's important to help other people so they can get the right help, whatever they need.
Absolutely. So I wanted to tell you, back in February, my friend Kristen Frisk, who was a very funny stand-up comedian, she died of pneumonia, unfortunately, at 45 years old. And she loved Teen Wolf, and she knew that you were on my bucket list for so long to talk to, and she would be so proud of me today to know that I talked to you. So Susan, thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, well, that means a lot. And thank you so much for having me. That really, really touched my heart. Thank you, Tommy.
Yes, I'm going
to... Yeah, that's really special. And I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful Halloween, everyone.
Yes, I'm going to go cry now because dreams really do come true. Have a happy Halloween, Susan, and the rest of the holidays as well.
Oh, you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it. Susan Ursitti Sheinberg. Ain't she a sweetheart? What a great lady, hon. Great stories there. I'm so glad we could have this conversation today. Yeah, I got pretty emotional there at the end, but I've kept it together. And dreams really do come true. I've got so many bucket list people coming on that I'm going to be doing a lot of crying lately. I'm talking huge bucket list people. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes! Oh! Happy Halloween.